What's going on, guys? CGG Matt back. Welcome to Contender or Not Contender. Let's go. You can read the tiers. We have Contender, It's Complicated, and Not a Contender. I have every team here that's either in the playoffs or the play-in, especially in the Eastern Conference. It gets a little muddy around that play-in spot. Let's go. Let's talk about some of these teams and really flesh out who's a contender, who's not going into the playoffs. Still some games left, so still some time for teams to get moving up the standings, but let's just put the obvious contender out there. The Thunder. I mean, they're obviously they're the best team in the league. Record-wise, they won the championship last year. That's a contender. You repeat, you bring back the same roster, you're a contender. That's basically that's how it goes. That's just how it is. Long defense, good isolation scoring with Shea. J-Dub's getting back to normal, You still see some moments where some flashes of great play and some flashes of not great play. He's trying his best to turn his season around. It's been a really injured season for J-Dub, but I don't really worry about the Thunder going into the playoffs that much. I feel like they're fine. They have enough depth to cover for if J-Dub isn't that great. Just make it all flat one row. The Orlando Magic are not a contender. They are a painful watch, actually, down the stretch. They just have struggled to consistently hit jumpers and play the right brand of basketball. I mean, they turn the ball over. They've been turning the ball over a ton recently. In that game against Toronto, where they got run off the floor, I don't know if you guys saw, but Toronto went on a 31-0 run, which is the longest in NBA history. You know what happened during that run, or really at the beginning of the run? Jamal Cain put up 4 straight turnovers. I'm not being exaggerative. Jamal Cain really had 4 straight turnovers. He had 6 turnovers on the game. Jamal Cain, no less. Why is he handling the ball? God, if I only knew. P5's had a spectacular season individually, but the team itself has still just not really been all that good. They've disappointed me beyond belief this season, to be honest with you. No contender, obviously. I think we can get rid of some other ones that clearly aren't contenders. I realize that, they're the Warriors. The Warriors are not contenders, even if Steph Curry comes back. They're just not a contender. All right, they're going to make the play-in, probably high chance. I think they've already locked it in that they're going to make the play-in. It's just, will they even make it to the playoffs? Will they be able to fight their way out of the play-in games? Because they're going to have to win 2. They're the 10 seed. They'd have to beat Portland, yes, and then they'd have to go beat the winner of Clippers versus somebody else, or the loser of the Clippers. You know what I mean. Either way, they have to win 2 games to get into the play-in to begin with, and then on top of that, it's just a deck stacked against them when you factor in how many injuries they have, whether it's Steph Curry coming back from his injury soon, or whether it's Jimmy Butler being out for the year, or Kristaps Porzingis being in and out of the lineup. They've been hurt a lot, and so it's kind of hurt their team chemistry, as well as just hurt the fact that they don't have the top-end talent that they could have if their team was healthy. As we move on to the Miami Heat, no contender for the Miami Heat, obviously. They've had a fun season. If you watch them play, they get up and get down the court. They get a lot of shots up. I mean, they are an entertaining team. They're one of those teams that could give a team maybe a little bit of trouble in the playoffs because of how fast they play and how many points they put up. I mean, even their game yesterday at the time of recording against the Celtics. The Celtics win that game. They hang 150 on the Heat, but the Heat still put up a $120 something. If the Celtics don't outplay them offensively and make as many threes and many shots they do, I mean, the Celtics shot 53%. The Heat win that game just because of how much they score. They can provide consistent, good offense, quality offense. The issue is being able to get a stop, and they haven't been able to consistently do that, it seems. I like a couple other guys, though. Jaime Jaquez kind of got them back into the game at the end of the third. If you watch the end of the third quarter of that game, Jaime Jaquez scored or assisted on just about every basket inside the last 2 minutes. Heat have had a fun year, a more fun year than I expected. They're probably going to make the play-in, and of course, they're the play-in kings. We all know that. But the thing is they've been much more entertaining, I'll say. I mean, they aren't going to win more games, but they're doing it in a more fun way. So I guess props to them. Portland, not a contender. I mean, they turn the ball over. They lead the league in turnovers by a comfortable margin. I can check that just to make sure, but I checked it yesterday. They average over 17 a game. Here it is on NBA.com. The Portland Trailblazers average 17.5 turnovers per game. The second closest is the Brooklyn Nets at 16. They average 1.5 more turnovers per game than the next closest team behind them. That's not a team that's ever going to win anything. You can't turn the ball over closer to 20 times per game and expect to win. That's just how it is. Let's be honest with each other. I mean, that's like expecting an NFL team that averages 2 interceptions per game to win the Super Bowl. It's never going to happen. Trust me, I'm a Buccaneers fan. I know all about a team that had 2 interceptions per game. I watched a guy fucking lob 30 of them. Let's move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm going to put them in It's Complicated. All right, and I know they're in the play-in spot, and I know they're kind of with, the Heat and all of them, but they have a different talent level, I feel like. When the 76ers are healthy, they are a good team. Like, there's talent there. Maxey, VJ, Paul George, and Joel, of course. Paul George had a crazy good game against the Wizards the other day, albeit it's the fucking Wizards, but you get the point. He's strung together some decent games since his PED suspension. Really, the key to any playoff run for them is the big man. It's Joel. He controls basically how far they go, what they do in the playoffs, because if they don't have him, I'm sorry, but relying on Drummond and Bona minutes in the playoffs is probably going to kill them, right? And then Maxey needs to get back healthy, but I think he'll be back come playoff time. The 76ers are in It's complicated just because I believe they have a higher talent level than that of the Miami Heat. Clippers are not contenders. They are a very odd team to watch, man. They're hot right now, so props to them. And Darius Garland is shooting ridiculous splits since he started playing. Literally, like, hilariously crazy splits, like 60, 60, 90. Just ridiculous. Taking like 8 threes a game, too. I like that they're upping his three-point volume, or I don't know if that's the attempt or what they're trying to do or not. Couldn't tell you. I'm not on the coaching staff, but if it's a concerted effort to get his three-point attempts up, it's definitely paid off a little bit. Shout out to Darius Garland for the work he's put in to get back and get healthy, but all around, this Clippers season and this Clippers team just isn't very well-rounded. They aren't the best team in the West. They probably aren't going to go very far come playoff time, especially if they get matched up with a Spurs or a Thunder or even a Denver. I probably wouldn't pick them over any of them. Toronto Raptors, not a contender. Why are they not up with Philly? For one reason, their offense can't outscore a lot of people. Like, they can't outscore a lot of teams in the NBA, to be honest with you. They have a good defense, but like, they dropped a game to Sacramento. They're in a playoff hunt. I was going to say play-in chase, but playoff hunt. They could get out of the play-in altogether if they close out this season well. All the meanwhile, they're dropping home games to Sacramento and Precious Achiuwa. It's not really a contender or not contender. There's always teams that can creep up on you. It's kind of an any given day thing in the NBA, but when there's like 5-6 games left and you're really trying to battle out of the play-in, you cannot afford to lose games to one of, if not the worst team in basketball in the Sacramento Kings, and especially since, like I said, I think Precious gave them almost he did give them a double-double, I think, but he had like 24 and missed like 2 shots. Insane game from Precious Achiuwa, a former Raptor, I believe, right? So maybe that was his get-back game. Toronto has not been a bad team this year. They just haven't been good enough for me to really consider them anything more than just kind of playoff filler, is what I like to call it. They're a team that's not good enough to go very far, but they're good enough to give a first-round challenge. Whoever they match up with first round is going to play a very tough defense. That's for sure. The Raptors are a tough defense, and they're just going to have to play dredge ball. But the thing is Toronto, I don't trust them to outscore anyone. I don't trust them to outscore a team like Boston or a team like, I don't even trust them to outscore Philly. And then don't even get me started on Toronto versus the Knicks. The Knicks have owned them for the last few years, so I don't trust them against really anyone. I'm going to be different, and I know some people don't like different. The Hawks are going in It's complicated. This team, if any other team, reminds me of the Pacers from last year. They get up, they get down the court. I mean, I know the Heat play at the highest pace, and technically they do, but they don't have an engine like the Hawks do. The Hawks have an engine. When you think about the Miami Heat, it's like you think of their pace. Whenever I think of the Pacers and how fast they played, it was Halliburton getting the ball up and moving. When I think of the Heat getting the ball up and moving fast, who is it? It's kind of a by committee thing. The Hawks get up and get down and get shots up. Jalen Johnson is leading his team in every statistical category, guys. One of 2 guys in the NBA to do that. Pretty interesting. But he's averaging damn near a triple-double, which is insane again. He's just a guy, like, if any team were to go on a run in the East, just a magical, ridiculous run, it could be Atlanta because they have the defense to do it. Their defense since February has been top 10. They've been a top 10 defensive unit since February. And they've also been a top 10 offensive unit since February as well. So as you can tell by the date we have here, it says since 2/1/2026, the Atlanta Hawks are the 10th ranked offense since February 1st, and defensively, they are the 5th ranked defense since February 1st. That's what I mean, though. This team can go on a run. They can provide enough offense through Jalen Johnson and through Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's had a bunch of 30-point games this year, and their defense is still anchored by Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels. Zach Risache came in and played good minutes against the Celtics the other day. You know, their defense has played really well. And if any team's going to go on a run, I feel like it could be them because they play very similar to what the Indiana Pacers did last year. Charlotte's also going in. It's complicated because I really don't know. I don't know who's the better team between Charlotte and Atlanta right now. They're both playing really hot. They're both trying to get out of the play-in spot, and they're both kind of getting a little bit closer too. They're both rattling off a ton of wins late in the season. Like since February, these two teams have been some of the hottest in the NBA. So I'm putting them in. It's complicated. I don't wish injury on anybody. That's stupid. Just outright fucking dumb. I'm not doing that. But what I will say is that injuries happen. Key injuries happen just about every single playoffs. You think about last year. Jason Tatum goes down. Tyrese Halliburton goes down in Game 7. A lot of guys end up getting hurt come playoff time. The Cavs fall apart due to injury last year. If a team like Charlotte can jump on or capitalize on some injured team, they can make a run, Not a lot of these teams I have a lot of confidence in to do it in the play-in spot in the East, but Charlotte, Atlanta, and Philly, I just have this feeling that, if one thing goes wrong for the higher seed that they're going to face, they're in trouble. The Phoenix Suns, I'm going to put in no contender. This isn't a slight against them. They've had an incredible season, and in my opinion, they're my favorite of all of the teams in the no contender. They're my favorite to watch, too, of any team in the no contender. They have had an incredible season. But to be honest with you, they just don't have the top-end talent, nor do they really have the chemistry together. This isn't a team with Brooks, Jalen, and Devin specifically have not played a ton of time together. And with Dylan Brooks getting another technical foul, he might not play the next game, which makes their chemistry even worse. So in a loaded Western Conference, I don't know if you noticed this, every team in the It's Complicated category is in the Eastern Conference. Why? Because the Eastern Conference is a lot more spread out talent-wise. There's talent in the 9 seed out east. In the West, the 9 seed is not that good. It's the Portland Trailblazers, right? It's the bottom of the East is a lot more threatening than the bottom of the West, but the top end of the West is, in my opinion, a lot more dangerous than the top end of the East. I don't know if that makes sense to you. We'll get the buzz names out of the way. The Lakers are contenders. The way that they've played the back half of the season, the last month or two, the last month I'd say, they've proven themselves. They've kind of stamped it with me. Do I think that they're better than OKC? No. I think OKC would still beat them, but they would have a chance, a fighting chance, They take them to 7 type of thing. It wouldn't be a 5-game series. The Lakers are a very tough team though. Recently they've played really well, and I know they've had some cupcake schedule, but down the stretch their schedule does kind of lighten up quite a bit, and that's a good thing rolling into the playoffs. There's games where, hey, Luka and them can get you up by 35 going into the fourth quarter. Suddenly him and LeBron don't have to play. That's great for rest going into the playoffs, especially because LeBron is 41 years old. I'm sure you've heard that by now. A lot of this hinges on the role players being able to consistently do what they've been doing down the stretch here. DeAndre Ayton to play the good defense that he has down the stretch. Rui Hachimura to hit the threes like he has all season. Of course, role players play a big part in any team's run if they want to win a championship, but the Lakers feel like they have role players that are really hot or really cold, especially DA. I love DeAndre Ayton to an extent. I don't really love DeAndre Ayton that much, I guess is how I'll phrase that. If he's engaged, it's a completely different team. If he's not engaged, Jackson Hayes and Maxi Kleba are going to be relied upon a lot, and I don't love that. So for the Lakers, I think they are contenders. They just are contenders. They've proven that to me the back half of this season. I know this is weird, but the Detroit Pistons are going to be the top of It's Complicated because of Cade Cunningham. If he comes back, he's getting close to his reevaluation date, which would show whether he's able to play now or whether he's going to have to sit and maybe miss a playoff game or not. That's a really big decision. Even if he is healthy enough to play, I'm worried about how healthy is healthy enough. His ability to, I've said this before a million times, Cade Cunningham has dog. He has grade A dog in him. But the thing is that if he has to troop and push through pain constantly in the playoffs, how big of a threat is that team if Cade Cunningham is wincing or not moving quite as well in the playoffs? You know what I mean? That's why they're in It's Complicated. It's not because the team's not good. It's because they faced an inopportune injury at a very bad time. Did I use inopportune right? Probably not. They faced a big injury at an inopportune time. That's how I should use it. Learning day by day. The Detroit Pistons are in It's Complicated only because of the Cade Cunningham injury, not because of any talent level discrepancy or anything. They'd be in contenders if I knew Cade Cunningham was going to be healthy come playoff time. The Spurs are contenders. They've proven that this year. I feel like a couple of times. They've shown their teeth. they've grit their teeth and they've shown that, hey, they can really make noise. And I know the whole like not a lot of playoff experience thing worries a lot of people. It doesn't worry me that much, all things considered. I know OKC last year had some playoff experience because they had lost to the Mavericks the year prior, but we still question, was OKC too young to win it all last year? And they did. The Pacers, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, how much playoff experience did he have before that finals run last year? They had a good run to make it to the second round against the Celtics a few years prior. Or that was the conference finals. And San Antonio does have some guys that have been on some runs before. Luke Cornett's an NBA champion. Harrison Barnes is an NBA champion. Those guys are in the rotation. They get minutes, and they're NBA champions. They've been through this before. De'Aaron Fox he's been toe-to-toe with Steph Curry in a playoff series. I know a lot of their premier guys are young. Wemby, Harper, Castle, Champagnie, all of them. All of them, really. But when that youth is as talented as they are in San Antonio, I feel like that kind of changes the math a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe they lose because of youth, I guess. They guard, the playoff whistle's a little bit different. How's Wemby going to get guarded come playoff time? I think he'll survive. Hot take. But I think the Spurs are very young, but at the same time, they've shown through trials this season, they've shown us that, like, hey, they deserve respect, and this is the respect I'm giving them. I'm saying they are a contender. Would I pick them against OKC in a 7-game series? No, even though they beat them 3 times this year. I wouldn't. I trust OKC a little bit more, but here's the thing. Again, we talked about premier injuries and big-time injuries to big-time stars that have happened in many playoffs, most playoffs prior to this one. It could happen. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going into, do I want to put them in? It's complicated. I think I have to. Because even the Cade Cunningham-less Pistons, I don't like how I phrased that. The Pistons without Cade Cunningham are kind of close to the same level as the Cavs, if I'm feeling correctly here. Like, I think the Cavs had a really big opportunity to show us all and show the world, like, yeah, they're really here if they were to beat the Lakers the other night. And they didn't. They really didn't. The Lakers kind of beat the shit out of them, if we're being honest. I believe it was a double-digit win. So they really had their chances. They've had their chances to show, like, they're a real contender. That Celtics game last month, they dropped one to the Celtics. They dropped one. Who else did they drop one to? The Pistons in overtime. I remember that game. Like, they've dropped games to contenders. And I don't know. I get weird vibes with the Cavs. I see a James Harden-led team, and I'm like, I don't know anymore. I know he's not the leader. Donovan Mitchell's the guy. But at the same time, James Harden is the number 2, and he's also probably their best playmaker. So it still really concerns me a little bit. I like what the Cavs have done, and I think that they're a very talented team. That's why they're in it. It's complicated, though, is because there is a small chance that they go on a run. But at the same time, I don't believe in it. They haven't beat enough contenders in my mind recently, at least. Like, I have the Cavs schedule up right here. Since February, let's see how many contenders they've beaten since February 1st. They beat Denver. That's one, I would say. How many good teams, we'll say? They lose to OKC. They beat New York. They lose to Detroit. They lose to Boston. They lose to Orlando, who's not really a contender, and then they lose to Los Angeles at the end of the month. Like, they have had opportunities to be contenders, and they haven't done it enough for me to be comfortable saying that this is a solid contender. The Knicks are a contender for a different reason, I guess. Like, they have the top-end talent to maybe get the job done and get to a finals, but I just don't know. I don't know. Like, I said it in a video maybe 2 weeks ago, a week ago now, that the Knicks' disparity between their best type of play and their worst type of play is just mountains. Peaks and valleys between how they play at their best and their worst. And that's a scary team going into the playoffs, because if they go into the playoffs and they match up against the team, I don't think they want to see Atlanta round 1. I don't think they would love to see Toronto. They'd feast if they saw Toronto. They'd probably feast if they saw Miami. But, like, I don't know if they probably beat Philadelphia. But the Knicks probably don't want to see an Atlanta or Charlotte come playoff time. The Knicks are another team where recently they've had trouble beating contenders. But the thing is that they've shown it in the past. They made the conference finals last year. They've had big game success. Like, they're a really good clutch team still. In the clutch, they're a very good team. You just have to keep it close. I think the Knicks have shown that they can get it done in some aspects, but of recently, they just haven't done that well against contenders. That's why they're a really weird team. They dropped a game to Houston, and I think there was another game to another contender that they lost. They've lost some games to some really quality teams recently, and that is worrisome going into the playoffs, and especially because, like, Jalen Brunson hasn't played his best in some of those games, but they're still a really good clutch team, and that's what kind of gives me hope a little bit. My Boston Celtics, contender. You want to know why? because Jason Tatum's starting to piece it together, folks. Look at his last 2 games. That's a small sample, albeit, but he has looked really good in those last few games. Yesterday against Miami, he puts up a triple-double with 10 assists and I believe 2 turnovers. That's pretty damn good. Jaylen Brown has 43 or whatever, and they beat the piss out of the Miami Heat. They also have beaten contenders. They beat OKC. They beat Atlanta once, who's not really a contender, but they're kind of around that, like, they're a respectable team area. They've done a good job at beating good teams recently. And so I have to kind of tip my cap to the Celtics. They've proven me wrong a little bit. The only reason I was so skeptical earlier on them, maybe 2 weeks ago, was because I was very concerned about how Tatum coming back would look. But the thing is he's done almost nothing but help the Celtics. The one thing that they were very weak at before Tatum came back was defensive rebounding. They just didn't have a big wing who could really help out with the rebounding as well as the defending. That's not something they had without Jason Tatum. I mean, they had to rely on Jordan Walsh to do it, and while Walsh had a good year, he's not Jason Tatum, and they needed another shot creator. And with Jason Tatum slowly getting better, slowly but surely those wheels are turning a little bit. You're seeing good game after good game. That's what really gives you a little bit of confidence that, hey, I don't, if you're an opposing team, how badly do you want to see Boston? The Celtics have put away good teams recently, and that's what kind of gives me a big boost of confidence in them, is the fact that I think that they can get the job done against a good team, and I didn't believe that earlier in the year, but again, now with Tatum being back, it really helps out. The positional size, the ability to defend and rebound has really helped this team out a ton, and his playmaking. I mean, just about everything he's done has been a net positive for the Celtics team. And Jaylen Brown is still able to put up 40s and get his shots up, and his usage rate is still pretty damn high. So it's still Jaylen Brown being the first option, but it's Tatum also being able to play off that and realize, hey, JB, you're having a great scoring night. Go get buckets. I'll try and get everyone else involved, like a Sam Hauser or a Peyton Pritchard or a Baylor Shireman. And the rebounding. The rebounding always helps. It's always good to have a 6'10", 6'9" guy who can go get you 15-plus rebounds on a night. That's never going to hurt anybody. As we move on to the Houston Rockets, they're going in. It's complicated. Half-court shot creation has been disgusting for them and inconsistent, to say the least. I believe it was yesterday they picked up a pretty decent win. Their whole starting lineup, I think, had 20-plus. It was pretty damn close to it. I think Jabari might have not or something like that. But, it felt like everyone on their team had 20. Reed Shepherd had, 5 or 6 threes. He was playing great. He might have had 9 threes. I might be lying. He might have had 8 or 9. But it's just consistently being able to do that. And they just haven't this year, and especially another team that's kind of struggled with contenders more recently. They just haven't had the ability to create shots late. You look at their game against the Lakers, that was against a contender, and they really struggled to hit shots late. Of recently, here's some scores against them playing against contenders. San Antonio beats them by 25 fucking points. Denver beats them by 30 points. The Lakers beat them twice. Minnesota beats them once in a game that they choked so badly in overtime. They started overtime on a 13-0 run and then pissed it away. Sure, they can beat the softies 1 second. They can beat New Orleans, Memphis. They lose to Chicago in a game that they made a fake comeback in. Miami there. Atlanta's there. But against the top of the top in the Western Conference, again, a loss to Denver, 2 losses to the Lakers, and a loss to Minnesota coming down the stretch of the season. Those are teams that you're probably going to bump into if you want to make a finals run. That doesn't bode well for me. That's why they're in. It's complicated. They just don't have the half-court offense and the spacing. I mean, even like I said, they played a really good game yesterday, and they won their game yesterday. But even then, Tari Eason shooting 1 for 8 from 3. That's not something you can rely upon. That's not a guy you can rely upon come playoff time. We've seen that this whole season with Tari Eason. He's unreliable. I just don't believe that their other players will be able to hit shots at a high enough rate to get the defense to stop doubling Kevin Durant whenever he calls for a high screen and roll. They just don't have the role players who are able to do it. Minnesota, I'll put them in contender. I don't know. They're a weird team as well. They didn't have Anthony Edwards for a little while. He's back now. So I think that'll definitely help them out a lot. I mean, hot take there. Ayo Dosunmu has helped change this team up a little bit and get the math going a little bit. They're better in transition, at least from what I see. Ayo's not a bad defender either. He shoots the 3 pretty well. He's been almost nothing but a positive for them. I put Minnesota up here. Yeah, they have the win against the Rockets. They have a win against Boston, I know that. But they also have a loss to the Lakers. I think they also have a loss to Denver in there or something like that. I don't know. And I'm thinking about moving them down, but can I be honest with you? I just think Anthony Edwards is really good. And if I'm going to bank my hopes on anybody to make a crazy playoff run. Anthony Edwards is not the worst candidate to bank my chances on. You know what I mean? Julius Randle worries me, but not enough. Not enough for me to fully be off of them. And then Denver is always a contender in my opinion, even though their defense hasn't been that great. They've rattled off a bunch of wins recently, a bunch of decent wins recently, and it's helped them out a ton. Over that same stretch, Nikola Jokic, I mean, they've won 7 straight games, somewhere around there. I'm just ballparking. Nikola Jokic is averaging a 28-point triple-double with 13 and 13. Saw those stats yesterday. I'm pretty sure it's 13.5 rebounds and 13 assists. And Jamal Murray shooting ridiculous. He's averaging like 31 a game, shooting 50-plus from 3. It's ridiculous what those two have been doing. Aaron Gordon's there. Christian Brown's there. They're getting healthy. Peyton Watson's back. They're getting healthy. They are becoming the team that we hoped they would be to start the year. You just have to hope that the defense can pick it the fuck up and really hold teams to, obviously less points than like $120. They've really struggled to do that this year. A fun stat for you. I believe the Nuggets are like 33-8 when they allow their opponents to 115 or less points in a game. And that number gets even better when you do 110 or less points in a game. Their win-loss is even better. So in all reality, it comes down to how many stops can they get. That is a little bit worrisome. But P. Watt's there, Christian Brown's there, Aaron Gordon's there. There's no excuses for them to not. Cam Johnson's there. Like they have the infrastructure to be a good defensive team. It's just about piecing it together down the stretch. And I believe they also have kind of a softy schedule coming up too. Not a softy, but they have some games against lesser teams where they can kind of, what do they say, sharpen the sword a little bit, I guess, kind of get their feet wet, and really get that camaraderie up. They're healthy, they're whole, and they have Nikola Jokic on the team. Can you blame me for putting them in contender? I know I use contender a little bit more liberally and broad in this, but that's kind of just how I feel about these teams, is that especially in the Western Conference, it's kind of open, and in the Eastern Conference, it's even more open. You know what I mean? So if you disagree, comment down below who is and isn't a contender that you disagree with. Like, subscribe. Thank you all for joining me. I'm going to catch a game. See you guys in the next one.